I'll be your host for the evening. Yes, my name is Shami Molusimbi, and I'm so happy to be your host for this evening. I'm thrilled to have you all here with us as we dive into our exciting and impactful topic. So, today we're talking about the power of personal transformation. I'm sure you all saw the flyer and you all joined in with an expectation, which we are requesting you to share in the chat. But before we begin, but just allow me to thank each and every one of you for making time to be here because it's all about self discovery. Each and every day we're growing, we're learning about ourselves, our personal transformation, and how it can lead to a purpose led journey and impact in our every area of our life. So, just to add a little bit of light on tonight's theme, the power of personal transformation. This is one that resonates deeply with each and every one of us. I think you can all agree, right? Yes, we all have moments in our life that demand change, demand growth. But transformation is not just about what happens to us, it's about what we choose to do with those experiences, how those experiences shape our journey, and how we lead towards fulfilling our purpose. Like by show of hands, I would like to know who can guarantee that they have found their purpose, that they are living and fulfilling their purpose. Please feel free to raise your hand or share in the chat, say yes or no, because this is part of the journey that we're going through. So to guide us through this powerful conversation, we are honored to have Rosemary Maina with us. So, just a little bit about Rosemary. She's an expert in personal development and transformation, and she has a wealth of experience in helping individuals unlock their full potential and align their lives with their true purpose. So, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Rosemary. Rosemary, I'd like to truly appreciate you for being here. We are so excited to learn from your insights and experience. And I would like to hand over the floor to you. Thank you. Over to you, Rosemary.
Thank you very much, Shamim, for the warm welcome. And for everybody in the house, glad to have you. And thank you very much for joining and joining on time. I've seen a lot of nice introductions, HR trainers, purpose champions. And as Shamim was asking how many people would gladly say they have been able to identify their purpose, of course, I've only seen like one hand up. My assumption is that the rest of the people are trying to figure out whether what they have found is actually their purpose or something different. And of course, as Shamim has mentioned, finding your purpose is a journey, and transformation is part of that journey. So maybe just to see a few people from the chat box, when you came across this topic about personal transformation, what did you get at the back of your mind? When you hear about personal transformation, what comes to mind? Or what did you have in mind that would be mentioned during this process or during this time? Or just what comes to mind when you hear personal transformation? What comes to mind generally? Whether it's about you or about other people, let me see something in the chat box. What comes to mind when you hear the word personal transformation? Waiting to see 2 or 3 people say something so that I know I can be heard and that we are on the same page. Just for you to also be sure you're in the right webinar, just in case you logged into a different log, but you would be welcome anyway. So what comes to mind when you hear the word personal transformation? What comes at the back of your mind? And that could also explain the reason why you are here this evening. Because you're looking forward that something should be said or something that will be mentioned during this session. Anybody who has something in mind that they thought about when they heard the word personal transformation? An inventory, thanks, Nancy. Nancy thinks an inventory of my roadmap to where I am to go. That's interesting. So you're thinking I need to go somewhere, but I need a roadmap. I like that. So you'll probably come across something of that nature. Another person who came across or who thought of something when they had the topic personal transformation, what came to mind or what is ringing in your mind right now when you hear the word personal transformation? Learning and unlearning, very true. It means you have a bit of learning to you for you to transform. There's a bit of learning that needs to happen, but there's also a bit of unlearning, which is very important, like that we'll mention shortly. Those are good thoughts that we need to unlearn and unlearn. Identification and removal of sabotages and blocks. Oh, thanks, Amos. That's also quite a thought that we need to be able to remove things that sabotage us and that block us. But first of all, before we remove them, we need to be able to identify them. That's pretty important. Shamim, better version of yourself, very important. That you will not change yourself. The you remains, but there's a better version. You can only come up with a version 2 and a version 3. You can always come up with many versions of yourself. Mindset shift. Of course, if you have to make any move, if you have to get yourself to the next level, you have to find another version of you. Mindset needs to switch. Very important. Betterment of self. Thanks, Sarah. And thanks, Edward, for the mindset. Betterment of self, which goes hand in hand with just getting a better version of yourself. And as Sharon says, you need to step out of your discomfort. Oh, I thought you only step out of our comfort, but I think sometimes you already have some level of discomfort, but you're still stuck in that discomfort. That's also a very good way of looking at it. Great. Thank you very much for all those angles of looking at it. So then I'll put up a few slides for us to share as we go through. Feel free to put something in the chat box. If something resonates with you and you'd want to just keep it as a note, drop it on the chat box. If a thought comes to mind and you're still trying to figure out, maybe we need to pick the thought later at the end as we finish the conversation, also feel free to just drop it in short. Keep the conversations going even in the chat box. So one of the things I would want us to reflect on at this moment is ask yourself, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror or just sat down with your own thoughts and just got to ask yourself, is this all there is? Whether you're thinking about yourself as a person or whether you're just thinking generally in life. Let me just see, maybe in the chat box or by a show of hands, anybody who ever sat down at some point in their life, maybe you've already gotten over it, which is a good thing, but anybody who at any one point in their life sat down and asked themselves, is this all there is to life? Or is there something I'm missing? Is there another world that is likely to come that will make things better? Is there another version? Is there another job? Is there another marriage? Is there is there something else? Or is this it? Because at that point you looked in the mirror and you realized this can't be it. And if it is it, then I feel like something is wrong. Because for you to look at the mirror or just sit with yourself and ask yourself, is this it? Is this all there is? Or is there something else more to it in life? Something else to it in my career? Something else to it in me as a person? The point you get to ask yourself that question, it's a trigger already. It is something that is telling you at the back of your mind that you need some level of transformation. It is already nature that is already reminding you that there's a part of you that needs to change. So it's very, very important for you to capture those moments, because if you don't capture those moments, then you get it. So thanks, Eunice and Sharon, for confirming. Yes, you get at that point in your life, whether it is about a personal space you're in, whether it is a job, whether it is a relationship. There are times you probably just sat somewhere or you went to the mirror like most ladies do and just looked at yourself and wondered, is this all there is? The moment you get that trigger, that's nature telling you that it is time for transformation. It's time for a shift, and you need to be able to do something different or try something more. So nature has a way of calling us to all those things we have said when it comes to transformation. Whether it is telling you need a mindset shift, whether it is telling you need a next version of yourself, whether it is telling you need to discover your purpose, whether it is telling you need to get to the next level, it has a way of giving us wake-up calls. So the moment you look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself that question, then at the back of your mind, you start thinking, who I am is not who I want to be. So you're looking at the mirror or you're just sitting with yourself somewhere with your own thoughts in those moments of silence. And you realize the person I am now is not the person I want to be. And that's a wake-up call. It is something telling you that you need something more. You need another version of you. Or most importantly, you need to figure out what brought you into this world. Because at that point where you ask yourself if this is all to it, it is because you've done so many things. And sometimes they're not bad things. You probably had the best of careers. You probably had a relationship that works and looks okay, but you still keep thinking there's something missing. And that's where you get to keep getting those thoughts of, is there something more to it? And when you think about it, you realize the person I am is not who I want to be. It does not necessarily mean you're a bad person, by the way. It does not necessarily mean you're not doing what a normal human being is supposed to be doing. You're probably on the right track. You have the right education, you went to school, you made a career, you are making the money you need, you have a family, but something at the back of your mind still keeps reminding you or telling you, this is probably not who I wanted to be. Or what I am doing is not what I want to be doing. It is not bad. Whatever I'm doing, it is paying the bills. And I'm working okay. And actually, the people around me think it's okay. But when I sit down with my thoughts, something tells me it is not what I want to be doing. Or you get that thought that keeps making you think the life I am leading is not the one I want to be leading. It could be generally, you might not be able to put a finger on it, but something at the back of your mind keeps making you think you are not where you wanted to be. You are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. There is something missing. There's just that emptiness, that hollow part that does not seem to be filled by the job you're doing, that does not seem to be filled by getting a better promotion, that does not seem to get filled by getting more money, or does not even get filled by your partner loving you more or your children becoming better. There's just something in you that does not feel right. Yet everything might actually look okay from the outside. So when you get those wake up calls, all they're trying to tell you it's time for a personal transformation. It is reminding you who I am is not who I want to be. What I am doing does not feel like what I want to be doing. The life I am leading is not exactly what I want to be leading. Things may look okay, but I feel like it could get better. I feel like there's something more to this. I feel like I'm missing something, just that missing link, which sometimes we are not able to put a finger on. But the beauty of it is that nature has a way of reminding us. It will keep triggering you, it will keep giving you that discomfort that Sharon was mentioning. The challenge is you being able to accept the challenge that nature is giving you, because it will, that dissatisfaction, that feeling that what I'm doing is not what I'm supposed to be doing, will keep coming. So sometimes you feel like you're stuck in a routine that looks normal. You wake up, prepare, go to work, do what needs to be done at work, come back in the evening, do what needs to get done. The day ends, you sleep, tomorrow you wake up and continue with that routine. The routine looks okay because you're doing what a normal human being should be doing. Getting the work done, paying the bills, doing a few things here and there, having a family, having a friends, and many those other things that are stuck in our routine. But for some reason, that routine is making you feel like there has to be something. And that is the moment where you sit back and you feel like there has to be much more to life. There's something that's making you feel so unfulfilled. There's a hole inside you that does not seem to get filled by the next promotion, by the next salary increment, by the next holiday that you take, that just that emptiness does not go. So you keep yearning for something more. You keep yearning for something that is going to fill in that hollow space that is inside of you. And you can almost tell that the way I'm feeling right now, the current life and the way it looks for me, it is not what I envisioned. On the outside, it might actually look like what you envisioned. Because most likely, truth be told, you envisioned probably getting a good education, you envisioned getting a good job, you envisioned getting a good employer or starting a business and making it grow and having a family and taking holidays once in a while. You envisioned those things. But deep inside, it doesn't feel the way you expected it to feel once you get there. So, in one of those moments when you're on your own, when you're on holiday or when you take leave, or just those moments where you just sit back with your thoughts, that thought hits back and it makes you remember something is not right. Things are not feeling the way I expected them to feel. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel unfulfilled. I feel like where I am is not where I'm supposed to be, but I can't put a finger on it. And it's even hard to explain it to people because from the outside, everything looks okay. So those are some of the wake up calls that nature keeps giving us. But sometimes we get things that push that wake up call even harder. Something that just makes it move faster than you thought, or just throws you off balance and gives you now a proper wake up call. And most of these things happen when you have some major life changes. like a career shift. You probably were in a nice trajectory in your work environment, and then you get to a point either maybe you lose your job, there is restructuring, and you're thrown in a department that you don't like. The things change, and you have to shift to a different industry. And then all of a sudden, now you have to sit back with your thoughts and ask yourself, is this exactly what I want? Or is there something else to it? So sometimes it takes you your career shifting, or sometimes losing your job or your business coming to a standstill for you to actually now literally wake up and realize maybe it's time for me to even look for something that is actually fulfilling. It's a chance for me to do what makes sense to me. Sometimes it takes a relationship ending or a relationship going bad, so much so that things were looking okay, you are happy with the way things were going, but here comes a separation, comes a divorce, or just comes those disagreements in marriages or in the relationships that you feel like they are irreconcilable. And now I need to rethink my life. So that moment also becomes a wake up call because you realize maybe there's another life. Maybe it's a time I actually figured out who I am. It's a time I tried to figure out why I was brought into this world. Because for all this time, I have been living for other people. I have been living what looked normal, and I've been living what is expected. But there's a part of me that was not fulfilled. And this is my chance to look for that which would get me to fulfilled. And sometimes it's a milestone in your birthday. For example, most of us will obviously say it's those we call the midlife crisis. But what actually people call a midlife crisis, it's a re-evaluation of your life. It is that point where you are hitting fourth floor, like we call it, or in your late 30s, and now you realize, for real, I'm halfway through life. And being halfway through life, and I'm only living this life once, I do not have a chance to come back and do this thing. So you start asking yourself, what value have I added to life? If my life ended tomorrow, would I sit back and smile? Because when I look back, I did what I had always wanted to do. I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I touched the lives I wanted to touch, and I have left a legacy. There are a number of people that, if I walked out of this world today, would actually say, this person touched my life, this person did this, and they have something you can be remembered for. So sometimes it might not even take many other things. It is what we consider to be a midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is basically just you getting reality on your face that you are only living once and you're not coming back. And half of your life is gone. And so if you have not done that which gives you fulfillment, this is your chance. And that's why we have a lot of turnarounds around that time, because that milestone is a reminder that your life could be coming to an end and you have actually not done that which you are brought into this world to do. You've been busy, yes. You have done all the right things that needed to be done. But deep down, there's that one thing that would give you fulfillment. There's that which you are created for that you have not done. And until it's done, that fulfillment will not come. You'll always feel that gap inside you. And that crisis helps you. It's actually a nice trigger. It's a wake up call because it helps you to start rethinking your life and start reshaping your life so that you can direct it towards that which you are meant to be doing. And that's a chance and an opportunity for you to be able to transform your life. And of course, sometimes if you don't get one of those major shifts, if it's not a career shift, it's not a relationship that has gone bad, if it's not one of those birthday milestones that have triggered you and thrown you into a crisis, sometimes it's just that growing sense of dissatisfaction. There's just that waking up every morning and realizing there has to be more to life. It is you looking at the mirror every morning and telling yourself, this can't be it. It is going to that job that is paying you much, but still, when you get near the office, you still feel like a small depression is setting in. And then you start asking yourself, what is this? What am I lacking? What is the missing link? That missing link is probably your purpose, but for you to find it, you need to have some level of transformation. And that is what we get to talk about then. After you've been hit by all these wake up calls, that nature is giving you left, right, and center, then how do you make it up from there? Because for most people, they can already feel the hits. They can already tell they need to be able to do something more. So, what are some of the things? Yes, Shamim says that's the worst feeling because sometimes you're not even sure what you're lacking or what to do about it. You just know you are not okay, but you can't seem to put a finger on it. So, what are some of the things you need to be able to do for you to be able to ask yourself, what exactly do I need to do? I mean, everything looks okay. My job seems fine. My career looks okay. My family looks okay. But deep down, I still feel like something is missing. Like there's a missing link. There's something missing out somewhere. So where do you start if you have not figured it at all? Of course, the first thing is to be able to talk to the people around you. There's something about feedback that can actually be pretty helpful. The people you trust, the people you have dealt with over time, they're likely to point you towards a certain direction. One of the beauty of the things that you are created to do is that it comes already packaged. It comes already packaged with some gifts. And if you have been generous enough to use your gifts around people, there are people who are able to recognize and they can tell you, you are actually pretty good at this. I think you have been given this grace to handle this kind of situation. And that is already a trigger in your mind because it tells you something. Or they tell you when you do this, by then you seem happy. You seem to find your peace back. You seem to be at that space. And that's a trigger from people to tell you maybe there's just something inside there. So listening to the people around you and the people you trust, they're likely to give you ideas of what is that hole? What is that thing that is lacking to give you fulfillment? If they have been observing you and if you have been very generous with your gifts, chances are they can actually be able to tell you. Because transformation sometimes is not a total overhaul. Sometimes it's just a change in how you do things. Because it could be what gives you fulfillment is singing. And you're not going to drop your career and become a musician. But you could find a place where you are able to serve and use that gift and realize eventually you have more fulfillment in your life than when you had not given that which you enjoy doing a bit of space in your life. So, getting feedback from the people around you and listening to them will give you something. So, do not just be there and not use your gifting. And next Tracy says gifts attracts the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. Very true. And sometimes actually, you also get to know what you're good at because of people who don't like you for it. And it happens because you could be very good at something that you'll find people trying to overshadow you or trying to make sure you do not get the platform to shine. But that's still a reminder. It is still a reminder that it's a gifting that you have. And if you don't make use of it, you will always feel you are missing something because you are crafted to bring that thing here. And if you're not bringing it, then you'll always feel like you're missing something. So, despite the fact that it might come with the good and the ugly, have the courage to utilize your gift because essentially they lead you somewhere. And the most of the easy way to know you're gifting is what people tell you about it. Because sometimes you are not conscious. And I've realized even when you go for coaching and something is picked out, you'll hear somebody say, my boss actually mentioned that. I have a colleague who keeps telling me that. I have a friend who actually keeps telling me that. So most of the time we have been told. But because we don't give it a second thought and we look at it as a passing thing, then eventually what happens is that we are not making use of the feedback and we are not adding the things that matter to us in our day-to-day life. Then eventually you feel lost and you feel unfulfilled. And then you end up in just that stuck cycle of doing what is normal. Or sometimes when you sit down and you get that thought, have the courage to write down what comes to mind, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that comes with it. Why? Because sometimes you are able to capture your thoughts. Like in which moments do I feel really good about myself? And in those moments, you are able to tell something you enjoy. There's somebody who will say, yes, this is the job I do. But when I sit with somebody and give them my thoughts, and I see them getting unstuck from one area to the other, and they find clarity, then that gives me so much fulfillment beyond every other job that I do in this office. And that moment that gives you a very nice feeling and some sort of satisfaction, it tells you something that that's a space that you could be able to create something around and be able to enjoy more of your life rather than just feeling lost and dissatisfied. But it is going to take a bit of transformation to get there. So have the courage to diarize, to keep a diary of your thoughts and your behaviors and your feelings. What gives you the best of the day and what gives you the worst of the days? And you're able to pick and tell where you're hurting and what is helping it. Again, this will only help if you allow yourself to be more dynamic, not to stick to the one thing you do from morning to evening. Actually, realize one of the ways to be able to get somebody out of very negative thoughts is to just ask them to document their day. And they are able to document their day. From morning, what did you do when you woke up? How did it feel? And you're documenting everything you did from morning to evening for like a week. And you attach everything you do to a thought and a feeling. And by the end of the week, you can actually be able to see a trend. The things that gives you a good feeling and the things that gives you a bad feeling. And eventually you might actually be able to realize where your hollowness is coming from. Because maybe most of the things you are dealing with are the things that are not giving you fulfillment. But you're able to document, you can also be able to tell that the things that gives me fulfillment. And that could be a foundation of what to do next. And once in a while, just try to break down some critical areas of your life. If you feel like it's too much to deal with, just break it down. Things I do at home, things I do at work, the relationships of the people around me, and ask yourself, which are the areas out of all those things where you feel I need to fix things here? Because that's a place where I totally feel lost. That's the place where I feel like things are not adding up. And then you're able to put a finger on it and realize, I think the space where I'm feeling a bigger hole is in my workspace. Then you can sit there in your workspace and ask yourself, why am I having a bigger hole here? Why am I feeling so dissatisfied with the workspace? And then that becomes a candidate for you to transform. So transformation, not just around you as an individual, it's also around the life that you live. And one other interesting space that can give you an idea of the areas that you need to transform or to focus on to deal with the dissatisfaction is the books you read and the movies you watch. There's just that one book you read, or even just an article. If you're not the kind of person who will read a number of books, just ask yourself, which is that one book that you read and you keep feeling like you want to keep going back to it over and over again. There's a book you read and it totally resonated with you, or it triggered something, or you keep thinking, I need to reread that book, chances are it is communicating something. Just ask yourself, just go back and read it and highlight seriously the areas that you feel are resonating with you. It is telling you something. It is probably identifying something you are not good at, an area you need to work on, or it is identifying something you're passionate about, or it is identifying something related to your gifts that you are not utilizing. And that's why it is so fascinating for you to keep reading about it. And the same would apply to a film or a movie that you commonly watch. If you have a tendency to watch specific things, then they tell you something. I think one of the things I noted myself over a longest time is that I would be very keen on investigative series. And as I watch them over and over again, I would ask myself, I'm not planning to become a criminal at some point in my life. Neither am I planning to become one of those, an investigator or anything. But what is so fascinating that keeps me so glued and following up things and even, rewarding and rewatching some things is just because I had an interest in human behavior. And that is all it was communicating to me, that I seem to have a lot of interest in human behavior. And if I cultivated something I would do around human behaviors, then it would give me a lot of satisfaction. So it is so much about what you find very interesting when you're watching, whether you're watching a movie, a film, or a book that you keep reading, it is telling you something. It is pointing something you're passionate about. It is pointing a gap in yourself that you need to work on, or it is pointing a gift in you that you're not utilizing. So don't take it for granted that a certain book or a certain movie triggers you. It is telling you something. And you can actually be able to ask yourself, what exactly is it telling you? Then, of course, finally, as you look at the areas in your life that need transformation, because you're probably just feeling a hollow space, but you don't know where this hollow space is coming from. Sorry. The other thing is to just look at your whole life. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. So the other way is to just look at your life generally and break it into the various sections and ask yourself, which areas are you doing very well? And which areas do you think you need to do something about? Because if you're feeling dissatisfied and you're feeling some hollow space in your life generally, it is affecting a part of you that you need to do something about. So take the challenge and look at all the aspects of your life and ask yourself, if I was to pick a number between 0 and 10 and allocate that number to each of every aspect of your life, what score would you give it? looking at it from all those angles. Of course, there are different people have different angles because we all have different lives. But there are areas you're able to look at generally as a human being, and you can be able to tell yourself, do you think you are doing well? Or is there something you think you need to do about? Or is that the area that is actually giving you that hollow space in your mind or in your heart? Or the area that is making you look at yourself in the mirror and wonder if there's something more to life? So if you can't put a finger on it, look at your life from all angles, starting with yourself, your own identity, because the one thing that is going to give you a bigger hollow space is your own identity. The other things might actually be easy to pick. It's easy to tell, I think I have money issues, so I need to do something about my money. It is sometimes easy to tell, I need to exercise more, I need to do better with my lifestyle. Might be easy to remind yourself you need to go back to school, but maybe it's the work I'm doing. I don't like my boss, I don't like the department I am in, I don't like the career path I am at. Some of those things you might easily pick. It's my relationships, it's my family, but identity is what will give you a bigger whole. It is the one thing that will make you keep feeling like you're missing out on something if you have not really figured out who you are. Because that's why you keep looking at yourself and ask yourself, is there more to life than this? Because there's a part of you that has not been fulfilled. You have done everything else. You have looked for the money, you've looked for the job, feel like you have the relationship light, the family looks okay, but deep inside, something still feels missing. Chances are it's a question of your identity. You've not figured out who you are. You've not figured out what you came to do into this world. You've not figured out what your giftings are so that you put them in your actively in your life. And so eventually what happens is that you keep feeling empty. The harder you try, the more empty you feel. And now it feels even worse. So you need to sit down with yourself and just give yourself the challenge. On a scale of 0 to 10, if you have to look at each aspect of your life, what would you give yourself? In terms of identity, what would you give yourself? In terms of your family, what would you give yourself? In terms of relationships, in terms of work, in terms of personal development, in terms of your health and well-being, in terms of your lifestyle and leisure, what would you give yourself? Then once you're able to look at it from that angle, you can now sit back and see where your gap is coming from. Because maybe there are areas where you feel, I'm happy, I'm at peace with it, I have made the money, I'm a 9 out of 10. But in terms of the identity of figuring me out, I'm probably at a 2. Then you realize that is the space where your transformation needs to come from. That is the area you need to be able to focus on. So you need to be able to pick a number and then ask yourself, then, if I am at a 2 right now in terms of my identity, where would I want to be? Where would I want my shift to be? Probably you will not shoot to a 10, but you're asking yourself, if I could get a 6 or a 7, I could be in a better space. At least I'll have identified who I am, what I live for, and that also feeds into your self-esteem and your self-worth because you feel confident of who you are, and you know you could survive in any space because you know who you are and you're grounded on who you are. Then you ask yourself, for me to get there, then what do I need to do differently? Because that is where the transformation starts. If you realize your lifestyle and your health is at 2, you're asking yourself, what can make it a 7? Is it the exercise? Is it the eating? Is it going for checkups? What is it that is going to make my health from a 2 to a 7? What is going to make my self-identity from a 1 to a 5? The moment you're able to identify those things, then those are your transformation areas generally in your life. If your work and career feels like a 3, what would make it a 7 or an 8? The relationships and the people around you, if you're to rate it, it feels like a 3. What would make it a 7 or an 8? Be able to take that challenge and honestly tell yourself where you think you are, then chances are you can be able to identify the areas where transformation is required. Then you can ask yourself, what exactly do I need to do for me to get that transformation and to be able to move it to a higher number? Because you could have figured your identity, but you still feel like it has not helped you to shift your career and your work. It has not helped you to shift your relationships. So you need to be able to do something around that. One of the things you obviously then realize is that transformation is a continuous journey. It actually never stops. You cannot say, I have transformed enough. Now I'm at peace. I can pause it there. It will not happen because it's a continuous thing. But it is also not a one-night thing. You're not going to wake up and say, I have actually figured it out. And from tomorrow, this is the new version of me. The new version of you is actually going to take time. It takes a number of stages. And I would break down those stages into 6 stages. First stage is that you need to be able to recognize. The second one, to be able to release some of the things you're holding. Then you need to be able to rebound, to come up with new ways of doing things, reinvent yourself, bring out a new version of yourself, like somebody mentioned, like some sort of a resurrection. And then once you've been able to do that, you're able to respond to the external environment, and people can actually be able to say and look at you and know this is a new version of you. So let's mention a few things out of the 6 items. Recognition, self-awareness. I think there's somebody who mentioned that from the beginning, that you need to get to that wake-up call. You remember that wake-up call, it needs to hit you. You need to be so dissatisfied. You need to get so uncomfortable with where you are. You need to get uncomfortable with looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, this is not where I want to be. That recognition, that realization is very important. The realization that this is where I am, but it is not where I want to be. There are areas that need to change or improve, either about my identity, about who I am, about my relationships, about my lifestyle, about my finances. There are areas that need to change. And also be able to realize what patterns have kept you stuck. What has made you get stuck? Because most people are actually doing very well in this space. If you ask most people, they know. They know I need to figure out my purpose. I need to figure out who I am. I need to figure out what is my, the job that gives me satisfaction. I don't like the job I am doing right now. I don't like where I am in terms of my health. I don't like where I am in terms of my finances. Most people have some level of recognition. And that's a starting point. That's a foundation. That level of self-awareness, very important. That aha moment, the realization, that light bulb. And we get these light bulbs a lot. Think about the last book you read, the last conference you attended, the last training you attended. They all give you an aha moment. Some self-realization that there's a space in me, there's a part of me that I need to do better. And the reason why I'm stuck with this job I don't like, the reason why I'm stuck with these relationships I don't like, the reason why I'm stuck with these behaviors that are not good is 1, 2, 3. There is something that is getting you stuck there. That recognition is the first thing. The realization, the aha moment, the self-awareness, very important. After the realization, you need to be able to release the old things, the things that are not serving you. And this is where the hard part begins. Because most people know the things they are not supposed not to be doing, but the releasing them is very hard. The emotional baggage that comes with it, and sometimes it's some things we've carried over and over in our lives. So we have just been keeping baggage and baggage over it, unhealthy habits, patterns of thinking, patterns of belief, so much that you believe that what I am doing in terms of probably my career is not serving me. I'm not happy about it. I'm so dissatisfied. It is not using my talents. But on the other hand, you're thinking jobs are hard to get. So let me hang on. You're hanging in a relationship that it could get better. But on the other hand, you're thinking divorce is hard, relationships are hard. Let me stay with the bad relationship. So we have a lot of baggages that we carry that keeps us stuck in the situation we know that could get better. So you're not going to get a new version of yourself. You're not going to get a better version of yourself until you ask yourself, what is keeping me stuck? And how do I release it? How do I let that version of me that I don't like go? How do I drop the emotional baggage that comes with it? How do I drop the unhealthy habits and the patterns of thinking? Back to the mindset shift. If you don't shift the mindset, then you're still going to be stuck at the awareness level. The awareness of, I need to do better. I could raise my career. I could get better relationships. I could get healthier. I could shift my career. You will still stick with the awareness, but you're not moving to the next level of releasing the patterns of thinking and the beliefs that are keeping you stuck. So for you to move, you need to ask yourself, what is keeping me stuck here? Because there's a mindset, there's a belief, there's a pattern that you have identified that is keeping you stuck. That is where you walk for one day, and the following day you don't walk again, even when you had actually realized you need a change. Once you've been able to release, then you get to the rebound stage, where you now give yourself the grace, because you said change is not going to happen overnight. So you need to give yourself the grace to rebound, to nurture your mind, your body, and your spirit. Allow yourself to have that process, and the time to even process the things that have happened, the time to process the bad things you have come across, the time to process the things you're letting go, the time to process all the things that needs to get off your life, so that you can be able to integrate into the next level. Because if you don't take a chance to drop the old and allow your mind to be able to pick up the new, then chances are you'll keep sliding back. Because you start a new habit, then after a few days, you slide back to where you came from. You have to give yourself the grace to be able to nurture your mind, your body, and your spirit to get into the new way of doing things, to get into the new behaviors, to get into the new version of you. It is a journey. It is not going to happen overnight. So you need to get to a point where you allow yourself first process all the bad things that have happened, the bad relationship you had to deal with, the bad bosses you've had to deal with, the beliefs that have kept you stuck, process them and get them out of the system so that you keep yourself ready to embrace the new, like somebody says, to rerun and do new things. Then at that point, you're ready to reinvent yourself. You can be able to make new choices and align yourself with where you want to go. Realize that once you have been able to drop some things, you have to fill in that space with something else. Whether you want to shift from one career to the other, there has to be a gap that needs to be filled. Whether you want to drop a certain habit, a certain belief, there will be a vacuum there, and that vacuum has to be occupied with something. So you need to ask yourself, if it's a behavior change, once I stop this, so what do I start doing? Because if you don't start, then that vacuum cannot stay empty. It has to be filled with something. So you need to be able to choose new behaviors, new choices, new habits that are more purposeful and more productive and that are aligned to the person you want to become. Whether you're fixing your lifestyle, fixing your financial, fixing your personal development, you decided you need to read more books, attend seminars, that space, you have to be intentional about it. To pick the new choices, to pick the new behaviors, to pick the new habits purposefully and productively. If you don't do that, then you're going to have a challenge being able to keep up. And once you've been able to reinvent yourself, then now we can be able to see a newer version of yourself, a resurrection of you. You're able to rise above the obstacles because you have been able to identify the beliefs and what was keeping you stuck. So now you can be able to flow with life and listen to your inner voice, and you're not able to pick what is right instead of depending on the past beliefs. So your past beliefs are not hindering you anymore. Your past mindset is not hindering you anymore. You're able to look at things objectively. Even when you have a challenge, you don't slip back with your financial goals, with your lifestyle goals, with your relationship goals, because you have already made up your mind and you are holding yourself accountable to focusing on what needs to get done. So you are at a high level of awareness. You are more enlightened. You're not allowing things to keep falling you back. So there's a new version of you now that is not held back by old beliefs, that is not held back by past mindset, but it is more focused on dealing with what is coming. Does not mean you're not dealing with challenges, but just means you're at a higher level of awareness. So that when an old mindset creeps in, you are able to drop it and you're able to get focused. And so that eventually you are at a level where we can actually look at you and we can say you're positively impacting the world around you. People can actually look at you and say you are a role model of something. You are a role model of identity because you are able to identify your own identity. You have pushed your self-esteem and your self-worth to such a high level, and you're able to deal with challenges at such a high level that people can look at you and see you as a role model. You have set a firm intention to become better, and people can look at you and say you are an example of them. And that summarizes the fact and reminds us that when it comes to personal transformation, it is not a one-night thing. It is a process, and you have to be intentional about it. You have to see it all the way from self-awareness to the end where you become a role model at it. And in essence, what you're trying to say is that you need to be able to discover when it comes to personal transformation, it helps you to discover and embrace your unique identity because you're not transforming to become like another person. You're transforming to become who you are meant to become a better version of you, not of another person. So it helps you to be able to bring out your unique identity, get a strong sense of who you are. And that really builds your self-esteem. When you wake up and are confident in who you are, and you don't feel like this is not who I was meant to be, or is this it in life, there's some level of confidence that comes with it. And it's also part of you helping to align your career with your passions, with your talents, or essentially what would eventually become your purpose. Because you know who you are, what you stand for, what your giftings are, what brought you into this world. And you can easily be able to incorporate that in your day-to-day life or even in your career. Eventually, you can also be able to have meaningful relationships and interactions with people because you know what you stand for and you know the circle that is your tribe, the circle that belongs to you, or depending on who you are. And as you look at all the phases of your life, as we've seen all the angles of your life, then you can be able to prioritize and be able to take care of your health, be able to take care of your finances, and be able to take care of your lifestyle, and essentially be able to support all your goals because you have taken the time to analyze your life, be able to share the areas that need transformation, and are intentional about it. And that means it's a lifetime journey. So you need to consistently sit down with yourself and reflect and ask yourself, what aspects of my life am I dissatisfied with? So as we close the reflection for today is to ask yourself, what aspects of your life are you dissatisfied with? Is it your self-identity, your finances, your relationships, all those things you've mentioned, your lifestyle, your health, your career, your personal development? Which aspect of your life are you dissatisfied with? And what changes do you need to make to feel more fulfilled? And you think through all the things we've said you can do, talking to friends, I think listing the emotions, all the things you need to be able to write down. What do you need to do to make you more fulfilled? But more importantly, what do you want to become? It is not just about what you want to do. It is about who you want to become. Because a better version of yourself is us being able to look at you and we can see you as a role model of something. So if you were to look at you a year or two from now, what is it that we, even without you explaining, we can look at your life and say, you role model this thing because you have lived it so well, you have transformed yourself in that space to a point where people looking at you and interacting with you in a few minutes, they can actually clearly say you are a role model of this because that is who you have become. Doesn't stop. It is a continuous journey of you transforming all the aspects of your life and becoming a better version of yourself each day. Because transformation is about taking control of your life in all aspects, making conscious choices that you sit down and decide based on this area of my life, this is what I want to do. And because this is what I want to do, and I have identified it, these are the beliefs I need to drop. These are the behaviors I need to drop. These are the things I need to stop. I need to start doing. And then I can consciously do it and rise to a point where I become a role model at it. It is creating a life that reflects who you are in truth and what you want. It is not about what other people think. It is not about what is trending. That is why you could have done it all career-wise, financially, family-wise, and still find a gap. Because chances are what you have been creating is not essentially who you are. It's not authentic to you. So personal transformation is creating something that is authentic to you, something that speaks to who you truly are and that reflects who you are and what you want to become. As you do that, of course, you have to acknowledge the fear. The fear is there, whether you want to change your career, change your lifestyle, change relationships, you're going to have a lot of fear. So acknowledge the fear, embrace the discomfort, as we said in the beginning. It is okay to feel a bit uncomfortable. It is okay to feel the fear. That discomfort is important. But most importantly, let go of the attachment. Most of our getting stuck is the attachment we have. It is the attachment we have with our jobs. It is the attachment we have with our behaviors. It is the attachment we have with our routines that it feels so hard to drop. But once you let go of that attachment, of that behavior and that belief, then you are ready for something better. Seek support. There's always somebody who has done what you are going through. There's a coach or a mentor who could work with you. So seek support through that journey. Embrace the unknown, because for you to become a better version of yourself, there has to be something you will do that you have never done before. If you're not doing something that you have never done before, then you're still the same person you are. And there's no transformation that is going to happen. So you have to be willing to embrace the unknown. You have to get into the uncharted waters, but take it in small steps so that you don't get overwhelmed. One step at a time, because it's a lifetime journey. It is not ending tomorrow. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. The most important thing is that you're taking steps and you're making progress. And as you make progress, reflect and learn. What have I learned? What have I done differently? What can I do better going forward? What can I appreciate myself that I have done? Because transformation is about you being able to embrace life and look at life as an ongoing process of transformation. It will never stop. But if you're not intentional about it, it will also never start. You could be the same person you were 20 years ago because you have not embraced this form of change or transformation. So embrace life as an ongoing process of transformation. Allow yourself to keep evolving. Every year, look at yourself and see a different version of you in the different aspects of your life. and just have that healthy curiosity about each outcome. If I change this version of me in these aspects of my life, how would my life look like? Have that curiosity to see a better version of you and embrace life as an ongoing process of transformation. Because once you do that, every year, every season, you're likely to see a newer and better version of you. You're likely to have better sense of your identity, a higher level of self-esteem, and most importantly, a lot of fulfillment in who you are and the life that you are living. So much so that when your last days come, you'll have nothing to worry about. You'll be able to look back with a smile, knowing that I did what I came here to do. I touched the lives that I was supposed to touch. I fulfilled what I was supposed to fulfill, and I can rest a happy person. Thank you very much. Back to you, Shamim.
Wow, that is so amazing, Rosemary. Thank you so much. Just now, I think we're all just getting started to get into the gist of the matter, understanding that indeed we are on this journey together. And it's true what you said. Personal transformation helps you to discover your unique identity. Basically, we're all here for a purpose. We're all here to align our passion, our talent, our career. It's so much for us to all bear. And the only thing that we can do to converge all that is to understand that it is a lifelong journey. Every stage that we are on, we have to ask ourselves those reflective questions, just like Rosemary has said. What aspects of my life am I dissatisfied with? Yes, just like Rosemary said, you get to that point of discomfort. You realize that, you know what, this is not me. This is not where I deserve to be. I deserve better. I deserve more. And I'm going to change in order to attract that. You ask yourself, what changes do I need to make to feel fulfilled? Is it my body? Is it the environment? Is it the community that I am in? You have to reflect, sit down and reflect. And then lastly, she said the third question is, who do I want to become? What is that vision of success to you? Where is that goal that you're looking at? So all these are wonderful reflections, but just to do a quick recap, I'll just turn on the video as well. Just to do a quick recap, the transformation stages that Rosemary has said, you have to recognize. You can't do anything without understanding that, yes, there is need for change. Then releasing, rebounding, reinventing, resurrecting, and responding. People are going to follow. People are going to want to know, what did you have to do to transform? I would like to be just like you. And imagine the number of people that are going to be transformed by you. So the fact that you're here today, you are on this journey, and I'm pleased to say that we do have bi-weekly, twice a month, every Thursday, and you skip a Thursday, then the next Thursday, we will be having Papa's Digest clinics to just tackle all this information. We are just pleased that Rosemary decided to share with us her insights today on this topic. But what about next time? What do you want to hear? So we're going to give it a few minutes to allow those who have listened in to share any questions, any comments, anything that you need Rosemary to clarify on. But I'll just step and share what has been put in the chat so far. Tracy, our team said the gifts attract the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. Sharon says, thank you, Rosemary. Daphne says, thank you, Rosemary. Gabrielle says, thank you, Coach Rosemary. A great reflective experience and quest for learning. Miriam also thanks you so much, Rosemary. Eunice does the same. And Angela says, thank you so much, Rosemary, for the wonderful presentation. So just a moment to see, is there anything that you'd like Rosemary to share, to add more insight on? Any question, any comment? Please feel free to raise your hand so we can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. Alternatively, you can share the same in the chat. but maybe I could go first, Rosemary. You are a coach. I'm sure you've been through so many situations that have dictated your transformation journey by the fact that you are here to share with us. Do you mind just capitalizing on a scenario, one scenario that you feel challenged you and helped you grow? Because that's where it starts from, realizing that, getting to that uncomfortable situation. So, whatever you're vulnerable enough to share with us, kindly share with us that one scenario that really enabled you to change your mindset and transform. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shamim. That's pretty personal question. I think my whole life would be a series of transformation and realization and self-awareness. I think I would say I was the perfect example of career growth in a space where you know you need to go to school, get a job, and grow, which I did perfectly well. So I grew up my career ladder probably pretty fast. I think I was in the corporate space for a record 9 years, from an officer to a senior manager. But what I found, I don't know whether interesting or disappointing, is that with every promotion, I think I got more dissatisfied because you work pretty hard thinking, once I get the next promotion and the next salary increment, then that is where my heart will be at peace. And then I would be at peace for like 6 months, and then the hollow comes back where you feel there's something else that I'm looking for. Then you look for the next job, and because you're good at it, you get it. And once you get it, you think then that is the point where now my fulfillment again. And then you realize it's not. And then now you have to sit back and ask yourself, so where exactly, what am I missing? What is the missing link here? And back to some of the things I've mentioned, just being able to sit back and reflect and ask myself, what do people say? And then I would get people to say, when you make a presentation, it makes so much sense. And then I'm realized, oh, there's a point there. Then I sit with myself and diarize my feelings. What gives me the greatest joy at work? Not board meetings, not the reports, not all those things. It's when I make a presentation or when I'm doing some sort of a training. And those were the triggers that I was able to make. So much so that by the time I was getting to a point where I'm feeling like I've had enough of this corporate life and it's not adding up, I knew what my next phase would be. Because the next phase had to do something with training, it had to do something with presentations, it had to do with something to do with human behavior. So combining all those things, then I was able to craft my space into the training and coaching. So that eventually is what gave me fulfillment and gave me a space where it is not just about the money, it is about the impact. And if I'm able to inspire one person in a day, then I can go to bed happy and knowing that I've done what I did. And if my life was to end today, it would end with a smile because I know I have done what I came to do. I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much. And I think that's very common for all of us. You realize that as you climb the career ladder, you feel increasingly dissatisfied with each stage as you go. And it, just like you mentioned at the very beginning of this talk, it all circulates around, have you discovered your purpose? Do you know what you really want? What will fulfill you in life? Once you get that, then the rest is history. All right. So thank you very much, Rosemary. Just to check back in the chat, we have Nachito Josephine. Thank you so much, Rosemary. She reached late. Do you mind explaining more about resurrect as a transformation stage? So she reached a bit late and she would like you to just add a little bit more light. Penina also likes to share, would like you to share how you overcame the feeling of emptiness despite everything around you, including the job you're doing. How do you just get rid of that feeling, that deep pit? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. First, on the question of the resurrection bit, I think that oh, I've lost who question that was. On the resurrection part, because we've seen the first items as recognitions. You are self-aware, you know what need to change, and you know something is not working. You're trying to release the old baggage, the disappointments, the unhealthy patterns, and any beliefs that are getting you stuck. And then you are in the rebound mode where you're trying to prepare yourself for the change. You have reinvented, come up with the new behaviors that you want to do. But then there's always a challenge that even after you've tried something new, you can easily go back and slide back to the old way of doing things. So the resurrection part is just you being able to have that high level of awareness and enlightenment or understanding, so much so that you can be able to see yourself when you're slipping back to where you don't want to go back to. So that you keep yourself, just because you try to overcome the past beliefs does not mean they will not keep creeping up in your mind once in a while. Doesn't mean the old behaviors will not try to catch up with you once in a while. So the resurrection bit is trying to be at a point where you have gone above the past. That is what the resurrection is all about. Just going, rising above the past, the old beliefs that have held you back, the old behaviors, the old mindsets, and just having that very high level of alertness or awareness, so much so that when they try to creep back, you are aware and they don't take you back there. So it is just having a higher and newer version of yourself that is able to overcome the past and is more focused on what is coming ahead rather than keep sliding back to where you're trying to come from. I hope that brings in a bit of sense. Yeah, so that
Thank you
was
very
Jocelyn. Okay. So the next question was from Penina, who was asking, how do you overcome the feeling of emptiness with everything around you? I think it is, like I said, sometimes it is at work and you can't just walk out on day one and leave the work environment. Or you might need to be in that workspace for a while. But the moment if you're able to realize where your fulfillment is coming from, then you're able to do much more of that. So what used to happen by the time I realized, by the time I was thinking of quitting, is because now I'm at senior management and I'm not in a position where I'm out to make presentations. I'm not doing much of trainings because that was for a junior role. And now my Monday to Friday would feel devastating. So on weekends, I would look for an opportunity to do what was more fulfilling. So I would actually look for other trainers or consultants on weekends and just be able to work with them for free. So because that is where my fulfillment was coming from. And I would look for any opportunity to do that which gave me satisfaction. Even if I was going to do it for free, even if I was only going to do it on a Saturday morning, then that would be the space where I find my sanity back and I'm able to have something that I'm looking forward to. And of course, even in the workspace, every opportunity I got to teach or to coach, then I took it because that was what was giving me fulfillment. Even as I was trying to figure out how do I eventually get out of this space and move to a place that is giving me more fulfillment. So at some point, just because you figured what your purpose is, does not mean you're going to drop everything and run. Sometimes it's asking yourself, how do I incorporate more of it in my day-to-day life? Even if it's something you can do on weekends, like maybe you just enjoy cooking or you enjoy singing, and maybe the only time you can be able to do that is on weekends. Then make that your safe space where you do that and you're able to serve or see if there are components of it you can incorporate in your normal work. That way you have those pockets of fulfillment that can help to overshadow the emptiness that is within you. I hope that helps, Penina.
All right, I'm sure it helps. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rosemary. I'm sure the two people that have written here are speaking for many others. People would like to know, do you give one-on-one sessions? Do you have any community that you mentor? Kindly share so we can get to know how we can gain more of this insight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I do one-on-one. Of course, sometimes the calendar is too overwhelming because for one-on-one it is quite intense. But when I have open spaces, I'm able to take in a few people for the one-on-one coaching sessions. I'll drop my email at the chat box. I currently do not have an ongoing mentorship circle. I just have individuals who I'm able to work with once in a while. And the circles that I have are more probably company-based, where you have an organization you have worked with and so you have people you are working with on a day-to-day basis, probably something that will come up in a program that I'm working to launch next year. And then maybe I'll be able to share from my social media circles and you can be able to see how to join.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Rosemary. Those are the questions that we had today, and I'm pleased to see that you have answered all of them perfectly. And maybe just for those who are on the call, a gentle reminder that these are Purpose Digest clinics that happen twice a month. Today it has been on the 12th of September. We'll skip next Thursday. So the next session will be on the 26th of September. So at this moment, now that we have come to the end of Rosemary's submission, I would like to welcome someone very special. But before that, Rosemary, do you have a word or two, just a parting shot that you'd like to share before we hand over to a very special person?
Okay, thank you. Of course, first to thank you, the people who have stayed through the session, for your engagement and for your commitment to sit in here. Of course, even for us to come in here and not have people to engage us, it would be such a loss in an evening. But for taking your time to this late to be with us, thank you very much. And just to remind you that discovering your purpose and living your purpose is a journey. It's not a one-off. I normally say mine took me a whole decade from the time I left school to the point I was figuring out what exactly. By the time I got the real clarity, took me almost a decade. But of course, because I didn't also have somebody to work with. So when you have somebody to work with, like I know Gabriel, who is in the house, is a purpose coach, then it even becomes much easier. You could be able to discover it much faster. The beauty of it is that once you're able to get it, the level of fulfillment that you get in life is uncomparable to anything. You feel like you are coming into this world was worth it, and you look forward to every day to be able to just live and give to that which you are created to give, because it's so fulfilling, gives you so much joy, and you get to enjoy life even as you impact the people around you and as you impact the world. So thank you very much, and all the best as we all walk through our purpose and look to impact other lives. Thank you and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you so much, Rosemary, for that wonderful parting shot. And just like you mentioned, the person that would like to recognize right now as we close is the one and only Gabriel Nyamu. Just to mention a little bit about him, Gabriel is a father and he's a husband and a coach. His life's purpose, listen to this, his life's purpose is to transform people's mindset for purpose led generational income. Imagine that every day you wake up and your purpose is just, it's for you, it's not for me. It's for every single person that I'm going to speak to, right from the person I see outside my house up until the person I meet at the gate of the place that I'm going to. I want to transform everyone's mindset. And really, he does do that. He is a seasoned corporate executive and a purpose coach with a missional commitment to enable human beings live a fulfilling, impactful, and transcending life. He's also the founder and convener of the premier annual Purpose Led Leadership Summit called Purpose Fest. So I'd like to welcome Gabriel to share with us a little bit more about this Purpose Fest that is going to take place in October, just next month. Gabriel, the floor is yours. I will share my screen to show what they have to look forward to at the Purpose for Impact Awards coming up.
Okay, it's okay. I think I have a screen on my head, no worry. I cannot share. Thank you so much, Shamim. And I don't want to indulge people. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for sharing such wonderful, great insights. I've also learned a lot. And I did appreciate you being able to challenge our thinking and, calibrate our thinking and our thought process. I really appreciate it. My name is Gabriel Nyamo. As Shamim have mentioned, I'm the convener for what we call the annual, and we are, because I know Rosemary is so in that committee, annual Purpose Fest. Guess what? Just want to make 1 minute announcement. Every year in the month of October, we celebrate life purpose. What does that mean? We take the whole month of October as the month to remind people and raise their consciousness and awareness about the reason why they were born. From 1st of October to that 1st of October, every year, we do sensitization campaigns. We speak in corporate teams, or you can invite us to do a webinar to your management, to your employees, and just allow people to talk about life purpose. Why are you born? The question of the why. We always have this notion of celebrating things that actually that are more not very good. Like, for example, this month, do you know what? The whole of month of September is dedicated to sensitization against suicide. The previous month, mental health. Another month, cancer. Another month, diabetics. We sat down and said, wait a minute, I think we can also try to come up with something more important. So we launched this in the year 2022, where every year we sensitize people about the reason why they were born. and walk with them through a journey. So 1st of October to 31st of October. However, on the 12th of October, we celebrate the International Day of Redemptive Purpose. Mostly we do an event like a virtual webinar like this and just celebrate, and that is it. But then the end of the month of October, the last day of the month of October, we usually celebrate the now Purpose Fest climax. And you can see on my slides there, that's what we call Purpose Fest. We do two things. That is on that 1st of October. Two things. We do a global leadership, purpose-led leadership summit. And at the same time, we also recognize people who have demonstrated lives that are purpose-led. So we celebrate people and also organizations. That will happen on 31st of October. It will be in Nairobi, Kenya, and we want to welcome all of you. Kindly plan and diaries to be on a Thursday. It's the last day of October. Join us. It will be in Kenya. We're hoping to launch other chapters. Shamim, I know she didn't need to explain herself. She's our chapter lead for Purpose Verse in Uganda. And I know I have some other teams that are also championing these other countries. So this particular one is in Kenya, and we're inviting even people from all over the world to attend. It will be a leadership summit. And at the same time, we are going to do Purpose for Impact Annual Awards. Why am I saying this? Because I'd like you to nominate, if you know of a leader out there, or somebody you interact with who you feel like they are living their purpose, they are impacting, they are transforming lives, they are making positive impact and changes in the community and society, not necessarily for themselves, but at least for the society, the community they serve, kindly nominate them. And you're going to post the link on the chat. Nominate them for the award, and they are going to be celebrated. Of course, we have usually received a long list. There's a criteria. Rosemary actually here is one of the committee that also deals with the vetting and trying to check the various aspects we check on that Purpose for Impact Awards. Kindly don't leave those leaders unappreciated this year. And also organization. So for leaders, we call them purpose-led leaders. Organization, we call them purpose-first organizations. These are organizations that prioritize purpose before profit. You can look at our great leaders that we celebrated in 2022, Akina Jojo Ashuri, CEO Optiven, CEO Kenya Institute of Supply Chain Management, Helen Modoli, Royal Media, Inoro, I think Inoro TV, and many other people. Then last year we had another batch of people again, and I think I saw one of them here, Sharon, and quite a number of people who were celebrated last year. We are doing this and again an edition in 2024. Don't miss this. The poster on your screen there is about the impact, Purpose for Impact Awards. Kindly nominate. There's, I think, already a chat that gives you the link. And also remember to join our purpose-led community. We have a community we are building up, and we are targeting actually to reach a community of 10,000 purpose-led individuals in Africa, hopefully in the next 5 years or so. Be one of that. We have a group we call Purpose-led Community Group, where you can be receiving our various updates, and we are happy at least you can be able to join this movement. Even as much as I've come to the end of that announcement, I also want to say that we are also mobilizing the community around us to also join something else that is coming very soon, which is a network of purpose-led coaches. You've seen Rosemary calling herself also a coach. We have a mentor here who is Shamim and many others. We're also building a community for purpose-led coaches to be able to help the community and people all over the world about the journey of purpose-led living. So we are going to make those announcements along the way, hopefully in the month of October. If you want us to speak in your organization, to come and speak, in October it's free. In other months we charge, because of course, that's part of what we do. But in the month of October, we do free speaking engagement, but you have to book your slots for your company are enough. Or it could be a chama, a group, an investment club, your colleagues in the workplace, and we'll be happy to join you and try to be able to empower them in this conversation. So thank you so much, and thank you so much, Rosemary, for enlightening us, and we look forward for more impactful engagements ahead. Back to Shamim.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabrielle, for the wonderful submission. And indeed, I am honored to be the chapter lead in Uganda. So thank you for giving me that honor. And yes, we look forward to connecting. I believe we'll all be there on the 31st of October in Nairobi. Thank you very much. And let's nominate, let's not leave those people unrecognized. Thank you and wish you a wonderful night.